Hi, this is Kira Foreman doing the CBT therapy video. During the first session, I did an assessment of the client John, who is a 30-year-old white male. He came to the office because of his current depression and social anxiety. He has a history of both of these disorders, but I screened for them again to make sure that this assessment is up to date. I ruled out bipolar, schizophrenia, and other mood and personality disorders. He has no history of substance use, is what he reported, and he has had past suicidal ideation but denied any current suicidality. He also denied any homicidality. He's currently taking Nardole, which has been improving his mood, but he still wants to improve his social skills and reduce his anxiety with people. I built rapport with him by asking about his hobbies. He said he is interested in rock climbing and playing tennis, and I shared with him my interest in playing tennis as well. I socialized him to the CBT model, and he said that this type of therapy is something he would be open to. We talked about the use of homework, and I gave him his first assignment. I asked him to try to write down his thoughts when he feels anxious in a social situation. He said he would try. In the second session, I hope to continue to build rapport with John, explore some of the thoughts he recorded, and also, if time allows, create some coping cards with him. Hi, John. It's good to see you again. How was your Thanksgiving?
Nice to see you too. It was okay. My parents' friends came over, but I felt pretty anxious, so I stayed in my room most of the time.
So you're feeling pretty anxious on that day. Do you know your parents' friends well?
No, not really. They just became friends like the past year.
Okay. Did your family cook dinner, or did they bring it over?
We cooked, but they brought a few things over.
Okay. Is it okay if I ask you to fill out this anxiety inventory to see how your anxiety was throughout the week, and then we'll talk about the anxiety you felt on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So according to this inventory, it looks like you were pretty anxious this week. Would you say that's accurate? You were pretty anxious during the whole week and not just on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, well, there's anytime I was around people.
And you also filled out the depression inventory. May I take a look at it?
Sure.
Thanks. Okay, so it looks like even though you were pretty anxious this week, your mood was slightly less depressed than last time. Do you feel that this is true?
Yeah, I felt a little bit better. I had a little more energy. And I even went climbing once. One of the mornings.
Okay. That's good. I'm happy to hear that you were able to do something that you enjoy. Can I ask you why you think your mood was a little bit better?
I don't know. I guess coming here kind of has given me some hope.
Okay. So you maybe had the thought that maybe therapy will help a little, and that made you feel a bit better. Would you say that that's accurate?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So can you see how your thinking might have had a positive effect on your mood? You thought something positive, which was therapy might help, felt a little better, and that even led you to some behavior change, which is going climbing.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, good. I'm glad you felt a little bit more hopeful this week. Did you have any thoughts of suicide, hurting yourself, or others?
No.
Okay. And how many times this week were you able to take your medicine?
Every day.
Okay, good. Any side effects or concerns that you want to talk about today about your medicine?
No, that's fine.
Okay, good. Okay, next I'd like to talk with you about what problems you would like my help working on today. Like I said in the first session, we'll always set this agenda, which helps us to use our time, wisely, since we don't have a lot of time.
Well, like I said, Thanksgiving sucks, really. I just felt like such a loser, and I couldn't even relax in my own house. I tried to relax, but my parents' friends, Mary and Pete, just made me so uncomfortable. I couldn't think of what to talk about, and felt like everything I said was just dumb, and I felt just so damn nervous.
Okay. That must have been pretty difficult for you. I can imagine that was pretty hard. So it sounds like one thing you'd like to work on is your anxiety around people. Is that accurate? Should we add that to the agenda?
Yeah.
I'm glad you're able to identify some of those thoughts and feelings in the situation and be aware of the cause of your anxiety. Sometimes it's difficult for us to know why we're feeling, so I'm glad that you can tell that it was because of your parents' friends. Any other issues you would like to work on?
Yeah, I just, want more friends. When I went climbing, I was alone. Like, I do everything alone.
That could be pretty lonely, I'm sure. So making friends is something you would like to add.
Yeah, at least people to do things with.
Okay. All right. Anything else that you think we should add to the agenda today?
No.
No? Okay. Anything else important that happened this week that I should know about?
I think. I don't think so.
Okay. John, I'd like to ask you if anything positive happened this week. You mentioned climbing. Anything else that kind of made you feel a little bit good?
Yeah, actually, I played tennis with my dad one time this week.
Okay. So it seems like doing active things makes you feel a little bit better. Is that right? Would you agree?
Yeah, I like to think so. It kind of like gets my mind off things.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Next, I'd like to go over the homework that we decided on last week. You were going to try to write down some of your thoughts and feelings when you noticed a change in your body. If you became more anxious or down. How did that go?
I did. I just don't know how good I did though.
Okay. That's okay. Remember, the homework is not being graded. It's just for us to get some useful information and find out what we need to work on in the session. Okay. Can you read what you wrote down for me?
Okay. Well, Thanksgiving, I noticed I was feeling anxious and uncomfortable. I started thinking I'm awkward. I suck at making conversation. No one wants me down here.
Okay, good. So you did an excellent job at identifying your thoughts. You thought, I'm awkward, I suck at making conversation, and no one wants me down here. It must have been hard to think those thoughts. I can tell. Did you notice how this made you feel? I see kind of maybe some sadness. What emotions followed those thoughts for you?
Yeah, I felt sad. I felt down. It just sucked. I sat in my room alone on a holiday.
I can see why that would have, made you feel down. It would be difficult. Were there any other situations you jotted down? We're going to come back to that situation in just a few minutes. Anything else?
Yeah, I went to a bar on Saturday night, and there was a girl there, and I had a beer too, so I decided to try to talk to her.
Okay, and what happened?
It's like every time I see a girl, I start to feel like really anxious, and I felt like I was boring her, and like I had no chance whatsoever with her.
Okay. What exact words would you say were going through your mind at the time?
When I was talking to her, I probably seemed like anxious to her. I was worrying like about weird. She thinks I'm weird, and that I had no chance in hell with this woman.
So you started to think, I seem anxious. She thinks I'm weird, and I have no chance in hell with this woman. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And how did that make you feel?
Like shit. sad and down, just like on Thanksgiving.
Okay. Now, how did you react at the bar? Did you stay there, or what happened this time?
Oh no, I left right away after I was talking to her, and then I just went home and went to sleep.
Okay. So kind of like Thanksgiving, you felt down, sad, and then you went to your room. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you did an excellent job recording your thoughts. Any other situations that happened you weren't able to record this week?
No, just those are the main two really. That had me feeling like crap this week.
Okay. All right. So So we're going to work on those in just a minute. I just want to prioritize our agenda. So we have 2 things that you said you want to work on. Reducing your anxiety around people and making friends or having people to do things with. In my opinion, it seems that in order for us to work on you making friends or finding people to do things with, we kind of need to address those feelings of anxiousness first. Does that make sense to you? And would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Anything else that you can think about that you would want to add to that? That'll be our first agenda item.
No, I think that's like my main problem. I feel like if I can talk to people, my life would be like so much better.
Okay. All right. So I would like to explore with you a little more the 2 situations that you said were distressing. Thanksgiving and then at the bar. On Thanksgiving, I'd like for you to tell me on a scale of 1 to 100, how sad or low do you think you felt after going to your room?
I felt like 100%. Like I couldn't even enjoy a holiday with my family.
Okay. So you felt pretty terrible. And what about when you left the bar after talking to the woman?
I felt like on a scale of 1 to 100, like 90%.
90%.
Yeah, it was pretty horrible.
Okay. So both situations were pretty distressing and made you feel pretty bad.
Yeah.
What about now? Are they both still bothering you?
Yeah, I still feel pretty bad about both. I guess the bar wasn't as bad because it's normal, I guess, to be nervous talking to a pretty woman, you know. But being in my own house, I don't feel like I should feel that way. I feel so sad and like depressed.
Okay. So you felt like it's normal at a bar to be kind of anxious, but in your own home, you shouldn't feel that way. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like you would like to maybe talk about Thanksgiving first, and if we have more time, we can talk about the bar. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So on Thanksgiving, you were with your mom and dad and their friends, and you thought, I'm awkward, I suck at making conversation, and no one wants me down here. Those were the thoughts you identified. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'd like for you to try a little exercise. If you could close your eyes, if that's okay. I just want you to imagine that you're back in that situation on Thanksgiving. You're downstairs and you start thinking these thoughts. So the first one, you said, I'm awkward. On a scale of 1 to 100, how much did you believe that thought and how distressing did you feel that it was?
Probably like 97%.
97. Okay. What about the thought, I suck at making conversation?
I make conversation like 90%.
90? Okay. And then finally, the last thought, no one wants me down here.
Like 100%. I just felt like no one wanted me down there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You can open your eyes. Were you able to see yourself in that situation a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So all 3 thoughts were pretty believable and made you feel pretty bad.
Yeah.
But the most distressing was the last one. No one wants me down here. If you think about that thought now, is it still this distressing 100%?
Maybe like 98 or something.
So still pretty bad.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other 2, I'm awkward and I suck at making conversation.
I was like 96 and like 90%.
Okay. So it seems like the thought, no one wants me down here, is still the most distressing of the 3. And if it's okay with you, I thought we could start with this one. Is that okay with you, or do you want to start with another thought?
That sounds good.
Okay. So if you remember from our first session, we talked about how our negative thoughts can lead us to feel a certain way, which can then lead us to act a certain way. But if we can learn to change our thoughts, we may not feel the negative emotions and in turn might change our behavior. I'd like us to do an activity where we challenge the thought, no one wants me down here. How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds good. We can do that.
Okay. So this is called a thought change recorder.
Okay.
In the first column, John, we're going to go ahead and write down the actual event that led to the unpleasant emotion or stream of thought. So what was the situation where you thought, no one wants me down here?
Thanksgiving.
Okay.
I was talking to my parents' friends.
Okay. You can go ahead and write that down. And then you had a couple automatic thoughts after that, but we're just right now going to focus on that one, and that was
Nobody wants me down here.
nobody wants me down here. Can you write that down for me? And you said your belief in that thought was 100%. Yes. Go ahead and write 100%. And then what were the emotions that followed that thought? No one wants me down here.
I was pretty sad
Sad.
and like depressed.
Okay, go ahead and write those down.
Bad handwriting.
That's okay. How strong were those feelings from 1 to 100, the sadness, the depression?
It was like sad. I was like 97% like that, and like probably like 90% depressed.
Okay, 97. And how much?
90.
Okay. All right. So I want to ask you, John, in that situation, what evidence did you have for your parents or your parents' friends not wanting you down there with them? What were you noticing that led you to have, those thoughts? Nobody wants me down here.
Like not making eye contact with me, and like also like checking their watch.
Okay. So throughout the session, I've noticed a few times you weren't making eye contact with me. In those moments, did it mean that you weren't paying attention or you wanted to leave the therapy session, or was there something else that indicated or a reason for that?
No, I just like when I'm like thinking, like zone in. Sometimes like I'll just like.
Yeah, you're thinking and processing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, is it possible? I'm not sure, but is it possible that your parents' friends, when you were talking to them, may not have been thinking, he's awkward, he's boring? Could they have been just processing what you were saying when they weren't making eye contact?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's write that down as a possibility. How could you put that in your own words?
No eye contact doesn't mean that they're bored.
Okay. You sound a little hesitant. Do you believe in that statement, or you're not sure?
No, I guess I can believe it. I didn't think of it before.
Okay. Okay. So why don't we write that down? Just because someone's not making eye contact doesn't mean they're bored or uninterested. Okay. The other piece of evidence you said that made you feel like they didn't want you down there was that they were checking their watch.
Yeah.
Again, I want to ask you, have you ever checked your watch during a conversation with someone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was that meaning for you? Why were you checking it?
Sometimes like, because I have like really busy schedules, I'll like look at the time, like just to see what time it was, so I can have time to get the next thing or.
Yeah. So when you're checking your watch, it's not saying, I'm not interested in what you're saying or you're boring me, but you're just kind of, we have busy schedules, you're thinking what might be next.
Sometimes I'll do it if I'm bored.
Okay, so sometimes.
Sometimes. I have to admit that, so I guess I should have said that.
Okay, so sometimes.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility, though, that there was something that they were waiting for, that they wanted to know what was coming? Can you think of anything in that situation?
I think when I noticed that, it was like before my dinner, and the mom was still in the kitchen.
Okay.
So
your mom was cooking. And
yeah.
Possibly.
Good cook.
She's a good cook.
Yeah.
So possibly they were wondering, when's the food going to be done? That's a natural. We all kind of wonder that on Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
So do you think maybe that could be why they were looking at their watches?
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we write that down? How could you put that in a more broad sense, general sense? If somebody's looking at their watch,
doesn't mean that they're uninterested.
Right. They could what?
Could just be like hungry.
They could be hungry or have something else to do. Doesn't mean that they, don't want you around. And then, so those were kind of evidences that they didn't want you there. The watch, the eye contact,
Yeah.
anything else that they didn't want you there that you can think of?
No.
Okay. What about any evidence that they did want you there? I'm curious if you noticed anything that indicated that somebody did want you down there.
Yeah, Mom, she actually came upstairs when I was in my room, just trying to get me to come back
Oh,
down.
she did.
Yeah.
Okay. What did she say to you?
She was like, "Why are you up here? In your room?
Yeah.
Why don't you join me? We have guests here."
Okay. So it seems like your mom at least wanted you to come down from your room. Okay. So could we maybe write that as one more piece of evidence that no one who's someone that did want you down there. So my mom wanted me down there. Good. So looking at this, we started out with the thought, no one wants me down here. And that made you feel really sad, really depressed. Then we identified some more rational responses. You said that the eye contact,
Yeah, eye contact.
just because someone's not making eye contact doesn't mean they're uninterested. How strong is your belief in that?
Now?
Yeah, in the eye contact, the statement we made.
Well, then it was like, probably like, I don't know, 80% or something.
80%? And now what would you say?
I guess now it's like 50. Because, right?
So you believe it less or more now? So that if someone's not making eye contact, it doesn't mean that they are not listening. How strong do you believe that statement?
Now, I just believe it a lot less, like 50%. Maybe they
Okay. So
could, maybe.
Okay. What about the thought that if someone's looking at their watch, it doesn't mean that they're not interested?
Or I guess like I thought maybe like 70% or something. Maybe it's like 40 now or 30 or something percent because I just didn't think of it at the time. I do the same thing sometimes. So.
Okay. So you believe that less?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about that your mom wanted you down there? How strongly do you believe that your mom wanted you there?
That my mom wanted me there?
Mm-hmm.
I think she did. Like, I don't know if it was because she was embarrassed that I got my room or she really wanted me down there.
Yeah.
But, so I think like probably like 90% or something. She wanted me down there.
Okay. So can you see here how our evidence against the thought that you had can actually maybe make us see the situation differently?
Mm-hmm.
How would you say now, looking at that evidence, how sad would you feel now?
Oh, probably gone from what I said 97% from before. Probably like a lot less sad. Maybe like 72% or something.
Okay. Can you write that down?
Sure.
72%?
Yeah.
And what about depressed?
Like, I don't know. I still kind of depressed, but maybe like 65% or something.
Okay, go ahead and write that. Okay. Now, if you were in this situation again and you started to think, no one wants me down here, do you think you could maybe think to yourself, if you start seeing people looking at their watch or not looking at you, could you remind yourself of these evidences against it? Just because someone isn't making eye contact or just because someone checks their watch doesn't mean that they're not interested?
I could try, maybe if I could have like something like this or have this copy, that would help.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, we're going to use this later on for our homework.
Oh, okay.
What do you think your behavior change would have been in that situation? If on Thanksgiving you had been able to kind of do that, do you think you would have still stayed in your room? Or do you think you might have been more likely to go back down?
I think I would have, maybe I wouldn't have gone upstairs. Maybe I would have tried to stick it out downstairs, but if I went upstairs, I would be like, oh wait a minute, let me go back down there. Things aren't as bad as I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just
So,
good at that at social.
yeah. Well, that's why you're here for us to practice that.
Yeah.
And we're going to work on it more and more and more. And the more times you do it, the more that we're trying to change those thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, John, we only have a few minutes left, so I want us to begin to wrap up our session and think of the homework that you'd like to do for the coming week. So you said it was helpful to write down those thoughts and situations that you felt anxious. Would you like to do that again next week?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So we'll try to do that again, and this time I'd like you to try the 5-column thought recorder that we did today for one of the thoughts. Try to come up with some evidence against the thought like we did. Rate how much you believe that evidence and how that changes your emotions. Okay?
Sure.
Would that be okay? Okay. Lastly, it seems like you enjoyed rock climbing this week and playing tennis with your dad. Do you think you could try to play tennis and rock climb one more time than you did this week?
I can try. Yeah.
Okay. Can you think of anything specific that you think may be difficult with the homework?
Well, yeah, like finding the energy to go climbing, it's hard to get up sometimes.
I understand. Sometimes after here, I have no energy to go to the gym.
Hmm.
But it's important to remember that sometimes doing an activity can actually give us more energy and make us feel better. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I do, but in the moment, it's kind of hard to remember that.
You're right. It is hard to remember in the moment. What if we wrote it down so that when you feel that way, you can look at it and that could help? How would you write that in your own words if I gave you a piece of paper? How could you say that?
Well, I guess I could write down when I'm feeling like I don't have the energy to go climbing, and tell myself that I always feel better or a bit better after going than if I just stayed in bed.
Okay, so you're gonna write that down. When I'm feeling like I don't have the energy to go climbing, tell myself that I always feel a bit better after going than if I stay in bed. So you can hang on to that. We call that a coping card, John, and we'll use those throughout our therapy. And here's the 5-thought recorder, so you have an example to do for your homework. Do you have any more questions about the thought change record?
No, I think I got it.
Okay. If you do, remember the homework is just, trial and error. So don't feel bad if you can't do it, okay? Okay. So I'd like to summarize what we covered, and then I want to ask for your reaction to the session. It sounds like you had some more hopeful thoughts this week and that you felt less depressed, but that your anxiety was pretty high because of your thoughts when you were interacting with your parents, friends, and the woman at the bar. We used the thought recorder to challenge some of your thoughts, and you were able to identify some evidence against your thoughts. For homework, we decided that you would record your thoughts like last week, but also try the new thought change recorder, and we used to find some evidence for your thoughts. Also, you were going to try to play tennis and go climbing one more time this week, and use the coping card we made if you run into difficulty. What did you think about the session today? Was there anything I said that bothered you or that I got wrong?
No, not really.
Okay. Anything else about the session that we could do differently next time?
Well, my friend, she goes to a therapist, and she mentioned the therapist does breathing techniques, breathing exercises, and I just thought maybe that's something that might help me.
Yeah.
Try.
Definitely. Breathing can be a very good way to reduce anxiety and feel calmer in a situation, so that's definitely something that we can explore next week.
Yeah, I think that would help me if I'm talking to a girl, how to do breathing, sometimes I feel like I'm hyperventilating.
Absolutely. Okay. And just remember that, it's normal to feel some anxiety, and we're going to continue to work on that, and we're going to continue to work on the thoughts and our physiological symptoms that come along and how we can reduce those. Anything else, John, today?
No, thanks. You're really helpful.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week.
At the same time.
Okay.
Okay.
In the next session, I will continue to work with John on his thoughts. I will also begin identifying some of the cognitive errors that John is saying, such as that he shouldn't be that way when he was describing that it's normal to be a little nervous at the bar, but that at his house he shouldn't be that way. So we'll talk about some cognitive errors, and we will also work on some more in-session exposures and other coping skills. Eventually, John will be assigned some in vivo exposures, and finally, I would also like to explore some of his core beliefs and how these developed. Most importantly, I hope to continue to build a strong therapeutic alliance with John and reduce his symptoms of anxiety and depression. Thank you.